Well, we have come to the part in the service where there's an audience participation. So, I want you to think about your family story. From whence did your ancestors come? Did they come across the ocean or across a vast land? Perhaps they're natives to this soil. Or maybe your story of coming to Denver is story enough. I want you to turn to your neighbor for just a moment and share a bit of that story, if you can. Thank you. I know that these stories could continue on, so we'll just imagine that this is the comma in the story, and I invite you to continue these exchanges after church. It's amazing how our stories are told. Some of them are full of adventure and twists and turns to get you to this place. Some of our stories are filled more with sorrow and pain due to force or escape. And we hold our stories with tenderness within us, just as we open ourselves to sharing and hearing one another's stories. And so to honor this effort, I want to explore the nuances of this process tool. First, there is the hearing of a story. By saying, I will listen, I have committed to being present, to having curiosity and allowing my responses and my own stories to be at bay, while I go so far as to admit that I value your perspective. The other part of the process tool of hearing stories is the telling of stories. Just as we are open and careful about listening, we also need to be open and honest in the telling of stories. It is great when we can give from our own perspective with truth and honesty without sensationalism or grandizement to make it juicy. It is that honest truth that gains respect and trust from the listener. So to give us a chance to practice this tool, I want to offer you a parable. It's one that you have heard today and one you may be familiar with. But the personal reflections that have been inserted into the story are based on tales that I've heard from people I have met. This parable, as I said, may be one that you know, one of workers on a farm. Jacob looked out over the field of trees. He was a landowner. More than that, he was a farm owner. 3 months ago, I was acing a midterm. I had just turned in a rough draft with great marks. Now, I'm no longer a harvester of words, but a harvester of fruit. In that time, Jacob had received a call that his dad had passed away, leaving him the family orchard, Atwood Farms. Now, with the funeral over, the paperwork sorted, and classes at the university suspended, he peered out over the fields at his dad's hard work over the 30 years. "It's good to have you here, Jacob," Louise said, coming toward him. It wouldn't be the same without an Atwood calling the shots. Luis was his dad's right-hand man for 20 years. They had celebrated high school graduation together just last May when Luis's son crossed the stage, the first one in his family to graduate. "Now, son, I know there's a lot of new things around here, but, well, we need some more workers. Harvest is here. A lot of the guys took off early not knowing how the farm would shake out. So Monday morning, We'll need to go gather people." "Where am I supposed to find workers?" Jacob said. "Well, we'll go down to the edge of town. At Mini Mart, there's a lot of day laborers wait there to find work. It'll be all right." "Okay." "Jacob, it'll be all right. I'll see you first thing Monday. Have a good day off." First thing Monday morning, Jacob and Louise took the truck the 5 miles into town, where they met 2 guys standing eagerly waiting for work. Jacob, sort of anxious to meet his newest employees, jumped out of the truck and introduced himself. "Hi, I'm Jacob from Atwood Farms. We need some workers with us, to finish our harvest, and I can pay you $80. Can you come?" "Sure thing," they said, and everyone got into the truck. As they wound their way through the patchwork fields, Jacob grew curious. He knew as a writer that the best thing to start with were questions, and sensing that he wouldn't be much help back on the farm with the instructions of picking, he decided to at least get to know the people who would be working for him. "What's your name?" he said to a man with well-groomed and white-haired sitting in the back. The man had a sunburned complexion, but he spoke matter-of-factly. "George. I wish I could say this is my first day looking for work, but, well, my wife is sick. She's always been the breadwinner for us, but, well, it's because I don't have citizenship yet. We've been waiting 5 years, been married, 7? Well, this is crazy, and I've got to work, even if the government doesn't want me to. Medical bills are expensive, Jacob, you've got a good rate. Looking forward to it, and who can really resist shady fruit trees? What are we picking today?" "Cherries." "Good. That's a great one." As they were talking, the man in the back listened intently, quiet and staring at them. As Jacob turned to them, he wasn't quite sure how he would answer. "What do I have to lose?" he thought. So Jacob asked, "What's your name?" "Marco." "Have you ever been on a farm?" "No." "Do you have any family nearby?" Not anymore." Not since the desert, he thought. He had barely escaped the coyotes from his home in El Salvador to the U.S. border. And despite all his efforts, his sister wasn't as lucky. He had buried her out there. The anger raged inside him at the memory. But then he thought of his family, his mom and siblings back at home. He would have to send them all he could. His dad had died in the Civil War, and, well, who else would take care of them? Jacob sensed a little bit of hotness and hesitation from Marco's answers, and wondered if, like himself, he was covering up a lot of pain. They arrived on the farm, and Luis immediately got to work, showing the new workers where the cherry trees were, and instructing them on the proper upside-down way of picking. Jacob looked on, clutching a box, as he headed off to the apricots. Around 10 o'clock, Luis came out, caught up with Jacob, and caught him in the middle of daydreams. Not much productive work happening at this point. Well, he looked at Jacob and said, "Son, we need some more workers. The cherry trees are ready. Do you think you could go down to town and get some more people?" "Yeah, sure, I guess." "Well, someone needs to help with the cherries, and someone needs to do these apricots." Jacob made his way into town again, this time finding 2 more people at Mini Mart, waiting, now sitting on the curb in the shade. He was a little bit more confident this time, so he got out and met the gentleman. The first one he asked what his name was, and he wasn't quite sure that he understood. So he said, "What's your name? Have you been on a farm?" One more time, just for help. The man looked at him and, well, he said, "My name is Jean. People call me Lomo. I worked on a farm. I had cassava and peanuts. That was in Congo. I moved to Burundi, to refugee camp. I live there, no farms there, only rice and beans. My daughter and wife are here now. I can work, but I need to work on my English, get it better. A friend told me that I could find work here. Maybe Mr. Jacob, maybe my friend could bring me early tomorrow? Sure, sounds good, Lomo. The other man, who had now made his way into the truck, on the passenger seat just gruffed. Mike, he said, and not that it's any of your business, but I was laid off in the fall, the last of the wave to go from the steel plant. I can't believe it. Still no work after 8 months. Still no work. But I still have bills. I still have a family to take care of. There's just no justice, and I can't wait around for other people to give me a break. I guess I got to make it on my own. They all hopped in and moved onto the farm. Jacob, about sensing some commonality with Mike and even Lomo, but decided to remain silent along the way. Everyone finished the morning work and gathered for lunch. Luis's wife had made sandwiches, and soon they were heading back to the trees in silence, but conscious that they were in it for the long haul. They were in it together. About mid-afternoon, Jacob decided that he'd get a treat and, get a few more workers to finish that last pull in. He knew it would always make jobs easier, so he made his way down the familiar route into town. Along the way, he received a phone call. This was Dave, one of his father's closest friends. Jacob, son, good to hear your voice. Man, first day on the job, isn't it? All right. Well, son, I saw you driving the truck to and from town. Good thing. Maybe workers I know you got a big job to do. Well, son, I saw that some of the workers were white folks, and that's great. And some of the people, well, they may not be from around here, if you get what I mean. Now, son, I'm not quite sure whose job it was when your father was around. I trust him, but I didn't know if it was your dad or Luis, the Mexican, who thought foreign workers were a good idea. Well, son, I believe that your dad ran an honest business, and you can too, but you got to do things the right way. So let me give you some advice. Get paperwork. Make sure it's all legal. Follow the law. Now, son, I know that you can do some honest work, but I want you to know that saving people just so that the feds catch up to you later is not going to do anyone any good. Hear what I'm saying? I know you're a man of integrity and will do the right thing. All right, well, call anytime. I'm here to help. Well, it's good talking to you. All right. Okay, well, take care. Jacob pulled in with a little bit of uneasiness and hesitancy this time. But here came a man with a smile of familiarity, and for Dave's purposes, a white man. Hi, I'm Bill. He shook Jacob's hand as he came around the cab. Luis knows me. I've been up there before. Sorry, I'm so late. Wasn't quite sure I'd ever actually make it back. But I need to work. I need to get healthy. I want to stay sober, and working in the fields, well, they give me focus to do that. So I'd be happy to help if you'll have me. Jacob looked on and welcomed him, shaking his hand, and then saw the woman standing behind him. Do you need work? He asked. Yes. And what's your name? Mary. Have you ever been on a farm before? No, but I have to work. My boyfriend was deported just 2 weeks ago, and, well, it's crazy. His father was caught drinking and driving, and then he was deported, and so they rounded up Abraham and his older brother. Abraham worked. We paid taxes. He was a good man, and he had never even been to Guatemala. His mom even lives here. And just before he left, we had our third child together. Oh, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm so frustrated. Now I have to take care of all of them, and I have to work 2, 3 jobs. How am I going to make it? Well, Abraham's mom, she took the kids. She has every other Monday off. So I left them with her to find some work, a little bit of extra cash. I don't know. I'm so glad my kids were born in America, but, Who knows if they'll ever see their dad again? Sorry to hear that, Jacob said. They all climbed in the truck, and Jacob turned to his new workers. Glad you're here. The intensity of the afternoon caught a breeze about 4 o'clock, and Jacob knew that Luis liked to finish up around 6. So he was surprised when the man came up to him asking for one more round of workers. We've got a row of cherry trees that we're almost finished with. You think you can get a couple more? Jacob nodded, and on his way, he was even more astonished as he saw a man standing at the edge of the property, looking out as if the truck were about to arrive. "Oh, man, am I glad to see you," the young black man said as he grabbed the truck before it even got to stop. "Oh, man, I'm CJ. I've got to work, man. This is so good to see you. Folks in town say that you all, Atwood Farms, you hire people off the street. Man, my mom sent me up here to live with my grandma. Trouble just kept following me around. I couldn't find a job. I couldn't find anything to do. Well, now that I'm here with my grandma, I told her that I'd try. I try real hard. And, sir, I promise that if I'm working in the trees, the fields, trouble won't follow me there. Can you give me a chance? I just got to make something right." Jacob smiled. CJ wasn't much younger than himself, and maybe he thought maybe the farm could save both of them. "Sure thing, CJ. Hop on in. We've got a few cherry trees to finish up." At 6 o'clock, Jacob gathered all the workers near the farm and asked them to line up in order of when they arrived, the last arrivals being first. He looked on at Luis, who just nodded in agreement. "CJ, it was great to work with you. Thanks for coming in. Here's $80. Mary, thank you for coming. Take care of those kiddos." And he handed her 4 20s. "Bill, glad you came back. Here's $80 for hard work." Knowing that all these 3 people hadn't arrived till after lunch, George and Dave lit up. He had promised us $80 at the beginning of the day. Surely we've been here longer than they have. We'll get much more, they thought. "Dave, Lomo, thank you for your hard work. It was great having you. Come back anytime. Here's $80. They walked forward slowly. "Maybe he made a mistake," Dave whispered. George and Marco, thanks for all your hard work all day long. It was great to have you. You're welcome anytime." And he handed them $80 each. George turned to Luis and said, "What's this? I worked all day and I got paid the same amount." "Yes, sir. You were paid what you were promised, an honest day's wage." At that, the crowd walked away, some shaking their heads, some looking forward to the road home. "I'm proud of you," Luis said to Jacob as he came near. "What you did today was brave and right. Learned a lot, didn't you?" "Yeah, but do you really think I should have paid all those people the same amount? And hired all these people? These people? Son, today you showed great generosity. You gave everyone enough that they could feed and shelter their family for a day. You gave people who were displaced or empty a place to belong. Business is full of hard choices. To those who have been given much, much is expected. Good work today. I'll see you first thing tomorrow." And Luis went off to his truck. Jacob leaned up against the barn, still wondering, still wrestling what he would do tomorrow, much less any day after that. But he was grateful for Luis's words. He was grateful that he had said what he had wanted to hear. More than anything, Jacob wanted to live up to his dad's legacy. More than anything, he wanted to do what was good, what was right. An openness to hear one another's story is a grace that we offer each other as we hear and tell one another our stories. Thanks be to God.